I lied to you. That's right, that super obvious title and thumbnail was actually saying the opposite. That's a first on this website. You know what Fallout 4 is. It made $750 million for Christ's sake. You've either spent an embarrassing amount of time on it, or you don't care, or you tried it and you have some very real criticisms to make about it. Hell, I do too. The gunplay is already dated to shit. Throwing grenades has input delay that sometimes mess with other controls. The story is ass, the dialogue system is ass. The perk system has been bastardized, so now, no matter what, each character will always be the same as your last one. The karma system is also completely absent, and because of the fact I am a very sensitive man, ladies, one at a time please, I prefer being the good guy in RPGs, but I still like the option to be the bad guy. But there's something about this game's mood that keeps me coming back to it. And it's the same reason why I love Dying Light 2's world despite that game's many, many flaws. It's the underlying feeling of hope. The battle for survival is over, so how do we start living? How do we make sure that those that come after us can afford to finally live normal, safe, happy lives? Dying Light 2 approaches this topic by having the plot revolve around things bigger than just collect food, keep the military from blowing us up. You turn on transmitters so people can communicate better with each other. You solve disputes between factions. You turn on windmills, which brings people to the area. How effectively the game does those things, I'd say is subjective, though I certainly enjoyed how the map gradually evolved from mostly abandoned to filled with buildings. Fallout 4 carries these themes by having you literally build settlements, and by the fact that, well, the Commonwealth is peppered with towns and inhabited locations, unlike the capital wasteland. Boston feels more like a war zone sometimes. Yes, I know that's not a good thing, but it's one very small step above a wasteland with everyone hiding and cowering, or one settlement with 3 dumbasses and nothing else around for 10 miles. And yet, like everything else in the game, the settlement mechanics are mostly underbaked. The builder is janky, and it's hard to know where you can place down buildings. You can connect settlements with caravans, even though the game fails to explain or even give you much of a reason to do so. Like everything else, you need mods to make the game work half right. And holy fuck, I found it. I found the mod that makes the settlements and that theme of chasing a life rather than survival incredible. And it's called Sim Settlements 2. You may in fact recognize this mod. The original was uploaded back in 2017 and it has about 4 million downloads, while the sequel, which we will be talking about, has a cumulative 5 million downloads across all of its chapters. And I did try out the original for a playthrough. It was fine. I don't know if I did something wrong or not, but it was effectively, hey, here are some pre-built houses that change how they look over time. It was still down to me to decide where I placed these buildings, which, of course, is completely fine. Unless, of course, you're me. I don't want player freedom. I don't want player control or any of that crap. No, I want less options. I don't want a well-made, meaningful game. I want Call of Duty, now and forever. Yes, I am part of the problem, and proud to be. No, people feel all kinds of things about the settlement system, and my view on it is that it's a generally fun thing, but janky as shit and hard to use effectively. So Sim Settlements 1 was fine, just another mod, until I found the goddamn sequel. Sim Settlement 2 feels to me like a perfect blend of both types of settlement builders. The folks who want everything to look nice above all else, and the folks who want total control over how their settlements look like. For the former, you have city manager desks, where you assign a companion or a settler to, And then the manager literally scraps everything in the settlement, or respawns some junk depending on the available plan, and spawns plots all over in places that generally make sense. And yes, you can still edit them at will. These plots range from municipal buildings, industrial, residential, literally you name it. And yes, as you progress along the questline, more on that later, you unlock more and more of them. And I'm sorry, but they just look fucking amazing. Starlight Drive-In has like literal roads you can walk down, and bridges are made over bodies of water. It's incredible. The castle also looks awesome. The boathouse has a fucking windmill inside of it, and crop, whatever, Manor has several of its holes fixed. The dynamic upgrades on plots are also on full display here. Like in the original, on a realistic time span that the game tells you about, settlers improve the factories and homes that they reside in. This is quite literally it. I wanted a mod that can make settlements look great without the hassle of the janky-ass builder, and it would already be a solid 8 out of 10 for me. But this motherfucker, King Gat, the maker of this mod, included a massive questline that's slightly better than the main game's campaign, which also comes packed with visual map changes, actual choices for you to make, and the most insane thing of all, the perks actually matter in the damn dialogue. Listen, I have to stop sucking the mod author and his name at a certain point, so I will say this. The writing is about on par with Bethesda games, by which I mean it's just okay. But the fact that the team behind this mod made perks matter again makes this mod by default a better Fallout game than 3 and 4. I will die on this fucking hill. This mod captures the feeling of the RPG heavy Fallout and captures the mood and themes that I've been wanting for ages now. A society that crumbled apart due to war, but it's slowly, surely rebuilding itself. The quest also weaves in and out of vanilla locations almost seamlessly. As an example, at a certain point, the questline has you preparing for an all-out battle against the nondescript bad guys because I want you to play this mod. And based on your choices in the main campaign, you can call in help from every faction you've allied with, even some new factions from the mod. And after this grand and epic battle that rivals what Bethesda has ever done with the franchise, you're rewarded with your own headquarters where you rule and can delegate tasks instead of having to do everything yourself. Good God, marry me, Sim Settlement Stew! Every modded NPC has half-decent voice acting, and impressively, the player character also speaks throughout the mod, using lines cobbled together from the base game. However, there is one obvious pitfall here. Sometimes you can really notice when the writers grab two lines and put them together, or a very consistent problem where everything you say is just so ridiculously vague. There are two main MacGuffins throughout the quest, ASAM sensors and the comm hub, and you, the player, never mention them at all. It's kind of expected. I doubt these mod authors had the money to pay for the voice actor to come back for a mod, and also every decent person hates AI voice acting, so it's kind of a given. But it's still impressive that you, the player, have spoken lines. This, including your companions, will sometimes comment on events. I don't feel too critical about this problem with the vague dialogue, because I've literally been playing the mod for 10 hours now and loving every moment of it. But let's get back to sucking the mod author's dick, shall we? The headquarters system is genuinely great. You have a big and expansive building, and the system here, while it uses the workshop framework that you're used to, works nothing like it. You have multiple sub-menus, and you assign tasks to your staff by building the tasks. Say you want them to clean up a section of the building. Then you go into the cleanup menu and just build the task you want them to do. And they do it in just 3 or 4 clicks. Is that too hard for you, Mr. God Todd? There's also an insane amount of technical work behind this mod. I'd say, despite the fact that there are no Call of Duty set pieces like in New Vegas The Frontier, the prowess is about on par with that mod. But, no perverts in the writing team. But there is the aforementioned grand battle, with your choices having a tangible impact on the fight. Christ almighty, I never believed in love at first sight. But alright, I've blown these people off enough. Time to wake the self-righteous gamer in me. Having everything, including the protagonist, voice acted is a feat that's almost too good to be true, right? Well, in spite of the vague dialogue that you say to everyone, you are actually not fully voice acted. There are, however, only few instances where the player says nothing, but it's still quite jarring. I'd say it's arguably a bigger punch-out than the constant generic replies. I also touched on this previously, but the dialogue for 90% of the early parts of the mod is just exposition for future events or explaining how mechanics work, which the latter half is fine given that this mod brings in a host of new systems that need explaining, but this prevents you from caring about certain characters when they die later on, as again, despite their relatively funny speaking habits, you learned nothing about them. Also, while this mod has far better choices and the perks matter for dialogue again, the game falls into a common pitfall with these types of games, of never fighting the choices that you make. For context, this is the character of Jake, a general goody two-shoes who doesn't like senselessly killing people who have surrendered, and we are about to fight the Gunners, who are mercenaries but behave like raiders with better gear. So I, who's doing a Hero of the Commonwealth run, who is also ruthless, wants to kill every one of them. Before the fight, Jake tells me, I'd prefer sparing the surrendering Gunners and letting them go. And I say, we'll kill every last one. The surrendering Gunners simply make the job easier. Well, heck, I'm sold. To be clear, I'm not saying that your choices don't matter in this mod. They do, but the characters generally offered no pushback. Jake, in particular, would tell you that he wouldn't shoot up an orphanage if someone pointed a gun at him, and gladly accompany you as you commit a war crime. The mod, or at least my run of Fallout 4, is also about as stable as me when I learn I'm gonna have to speak in public without a script. This is less a criticism of the mod and more so of Fallout 4 in general, and I guess me not knowing how road orders work, but boy have I gone through crashes. There's weird stretching of textures in Diamond City that block views, same for Crop Manor. I've had crashes every 3 hours or so, including some freezes that force me to restart the computer. If I alt-tabbed out of the game, the resolution puzzlingly just reduced, although that was only in a 2 session. In this one is absolutely about the mod, and I think it was due to me installing the mod when I already had multiple settlements. But Jake, who starts the quest line, would not speak to me, so I had to use console commands to move the quest forward, which caused some other bugs, such as preventing me from being able to build residential plots, which bugged other quests in the early half of the mod. I'm also at a point in my run where the game suddenly freezes when autosaving or fast traveling. That is a problem somewhere in the memory, but one I don't know exactly why it happens. Could be Sim Settlements, could be Fallout, could be my horror show of a world order, but it is. Fallout has always been about the post-apocalypse, and for me the unique aspect that draws me to it isn't the wacky humor, the violence, or even the 1950s aesthetic. It's the undercurrent of an enduring society. People, even in the capital wasteland, aren't running and hiding in fear, There are towns, laws, beginnings of a culture. From the NCR to New Vegas and the fucking Republic of Dave, there is a resurgence of a society. And that is an angle that too few post-apocalyptic stories even dare to talk about. The Walking Dead's final issues, Dying Light 2, and Fallout are the bare few that I personally know that do this. And Sim Settlements 2 explores this angle in ways that Bethesda couldn't. Thanks for watching.